One more thing. Rumor has it that the Mavs and Klay Thompson are both interested in uniting in free agency, but I'll tell you why. It's probably just a huge daggone smokescreen on today's One More Thing. Locked on Mavs. Let's go.
I'm here because I have to be.
Dallas is going to get a seat at the table.
That's it. It's me versus the machine. Don't let his whiteness take away from his quickness.
You can rest later. You're young.
I never recovered here.
Wait. One more thing.
Yeah, welcome. You're still locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and your best friend covering the Dallas Mavericks on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show, being part of it, listening every day. Like the video on YouTube, comment below, leave us a 5-star review, all that. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use that code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. And today, we're going to talk about Klay Thompson. The rumor about Klay Thompson, it's growing. The rumor's growing. It's like there's actual smoke and
Smell anything smoky?
there's some smoke and there's some fire behind this one. So we'll talk about it. And I'll tell you what Klay Thompson could possibly bring if this actually does become real and if this actually happens. What would Klay Thompson bring? We'll talk about that. And we'll talk about some of the other the things that are going to happen with this deal, I guess. So we'll talk about it all in the speculation of it. But I'm going to start here because so Mark Stein reports this. And every year we do the thing where we're like, all right, there's only a couple reporters you actually believe when they talk about Mavs stuff. Mark Stein, probably the number one. Mark Stein, McMahon, Cato. Like if they're going to report something about the Mavs, it's going to be right. Woj Shams probably up there too. If they're going to report something about the Mavs, it's probably going to be right. Mark Stein reports, league sources tell the Stein line that the Dallas Mavericks have some newfound financial flexibility after securing the Tim Hardaway to Detroit trade, are another team intent on exploring the feasibility of signing Klay Thompson once he makes it to free agency. Then later in the day, amid a growing belief league-wide that Thompson's relationship with the Golden State Warriors is irretrievable, strong mutual interest between Thompson and the Dallas Mavericks is expected when free agency opens Sunday evening. Whoo! So there's mutual interest between the two. This could all be real. Could all 100% be real. We'll talk about it if it is real. Like I'll do the hypothetical. All right, if this is real and it actually happens, what does it look like? All that kind of stuff. We'll do that in a second. There's part of me though that's like,
Does anyone smell anything smoky?
smokescreen season, leverage play season. Everybody's trying to get leverage over somebody else. And to me, this just screams leverage play for both sides of the coin here. Klay Thompson isn't going to get the deal with the Golden State Warriors that he wants. Klay just got paid $43 million last year. Klay Thompson is now a free agent, and there's a bunch of teams with cap space. We talked about them the other day when we talked about the possible Tim Hardaway Jr. destinations. We talked about some of those destinations. We talked about some of those teams with free agency. The Sixers have like $53 million in cap space. The Pistons had like 62. They got a little less now with the Tim Hardaway Jr. thing. The Thunder have $31 million in cap space. The Orlando Magic have $32 million in cap space. The Jazz have $31 million in cap space. And that's cap space. That's not just space under the luxury tax and the aprons like we've been talking about with the Mavericks. So they have all this space, and Klay Thompson is not going to get the deal with the Warriors that he needs, but he needs leverage somewhere. And all of a sudden they're like, all right, well, Klay's agent probably goes, you know what? Let's float that the Mavs are interested. And so then that happens, and then you're like, okay, well, then the Mavs are like, all right, well, then we can play with this because we as the Mavericks need leverage over Derrick Jones Jr. because he can hold us over a barrel here. In the same way that OG Anunoby just held the Knicks over a barrel and was like, hey, you guys need me. You have no way to replace me. What I do. And so they signed him to a huge, crazy, like $40+ million a year deal for a guy that's never going to make an all-star team. Now, great, good move for them and all that. They made it happen. They got their team together. Very talented team, all that. But he got paid a lot. He held him over a barrel. He had the leverage. Derrick Jones Jr. is in a very similar situation. This is a chance for him to actually make a bunch of money. Remember when I just said that Klay Thompson made $43 million last year? Yeah, Derrick Jones Jr. has made $26 million his whole career. This is his shot. And just like Alexander Hamilton, he is not throwing away his shot. Just like his country, he's young. I forgot the words. Young, scrappy, and hungry, and he's not throwing away his shot. I knew it would come back to me. He's not. And so it also got reported today that as Derrick Jones Jr. prepares to enter free agency after a hugely successful season in Dallas, he's made an agency move. He's now being represented by Rich Paul of Clutch Sports. Now, Rich Paul is known for being LeBron's friend, agent, Bronny Jr.'s agent, all that. But he's also known for getting the most money he can from any situation. Ben Simmons, Zach LaVine, Fred VanVleet, all guys making $40 million. Should they all be making $40 million? Probably not. But he got them paid. He got them money. And so if they're going to do the same thing with Derrick Jones Jr., they need to leverage. So they're like, all right, we've got the Mavs over a barrel. So what do the Mavs do on that side of it? The Mavs go, all right, well, we got this Klay Thompson thing where he needs some leverage somewhere over some of these free agency teams. Like, oh, they need a scare. Like, all right, we need a team to come out and get all these teams with cap space to pony up. Pony up, baby. And so then the Mavs go, all right, well, we're going to use this against Derrick Jones Jr. Hey, Derrick Jones Jr., if you leave, you know that if you go to a different situation, it's not going to be as good as it is for you here. Because you've been in other situations and they have not been as good as it is for you here. You're not going to get spoon-fed these, great looks. You're not going to just be asked to do the things on defense that you are good at. They're going to try to make you do other things. You're going to go sign with, Orlando or go sign with Utah or go sign with Detroit. And all of a sudden they expect you to be a lot better and to be more than what you are. Because, hey, we're signing you to $15 million. We're signing you to $20 million, whatever. I don't think you'll get that, but we're signing you to this money. So you better come in and do the things that we want you to do and do more. The Mavs are like, you just come and do what we want you to do. Do the things in your role that work. But you got to sign for our money. And so the Mavs are like, hey, Derrick Jones Jr., if you want to go somewhere else, fine. You're our priority. But if you decide to do this, if you decide to try to make a leverage play yourself, we'll just go get Klay Thompson. We'll just go get Klay Thompson. And we'll just replace Klay Thompson. We'll just replace you with Klay Thompson. You know him? Are you aware of Klay Thompson? He's won multiple championships. One of the best three-point shooters in NBA history. You know how we were trying to get you to be a better three-point shooter all season, and that was a thing that you struggled with, and one of the reasons why you went up and down in the lineup and didn't play that much and didn't play in closing lineups and all that kind of stuff is because you struggled to hit the three. How about we bring in one of the best three-point shooters of all time to replace you? Talk about making somebody feel insecure, right? Hey, we may replace you with Klay Thompson. Now, there are probably ways and machinations and things for the Mavericks to do to keep Derrick Jones Jr. and Klay Thompson. I don't know what those are off the top of my head. It would have to be some kind of sign and trade, which I don't think the Warriors are able to do because they're a second apron team. I'd have to go look it all up. But it doesn't matter for right now. To me, this just screams a leverage play. From both sides. Klay needs leverage over some of these cap space teams. Hey, we got to get a team that's interested, that'll express interest to the public. That will come out and go to a reporter and say, hey, you can report this. We're interested. This team is interested in us, or we're interested in them. And all of a sudden the Sixers go, oh, we kind of wanted Klay Thompson, but is anybody else going to sign him? He's coming off those injuries after he had those really bad injuries a couple years ago. He's not really playing to the level. He got benched a little bit at the end of the Warriors. We really need to pony up for Klay Thompson. Oh, dang, the Mavs are interested in Klay Thompson? Okay, there's mutual interest. Okay, we gotta move, guys. We gotta work. Let's up our offer. Right? I mean, this is what it all is.
Does anyone smell anything smoky?
Smokescreen. Look over here. Oh, okay. What's actually happening over there? Now it could be real, and we'll talk about the what it would look like and what Klay could bring to the team if it was real and all that. But to me, it's just too much. It's a little too much. It's a little coming on too strong. Especially since the Mavs will only have their taxpayer mid-level exception to sign him. They would have to do some kind of it's tough for me to see an avenue for Klay to make $20+ million with the Mavericks. Now, especially now with Tim Hardaway Jr. gone. It's how do they make that happen? Is it Maxey and Josh? Can they sign and trade? I don't know. Coming up, let's get into what Klay could actually bring. If this is real, let's talk about what Klay wants and why I kind of don't want to do it. I'll tell you why coming up.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. To be honest, I don't get tired talking about Game Time because I actually use it in my daily life. I use Game Time. I've used it to go to Wings games all the time. I use it. You can use it to go to Texas Rangers games, concerts, movies, or not movies, theater shows, all that kind of stuff. They got tickets right now. Atlanta Dream at Dallas Wings. Friday, July 5th, 6:30. Tickets for $16 to go see the Dream play. How about that? $16. How do you even... That's amazing. Go check that out. They have all kinds of stuff. You can do the all-in pricing as well. So you just hit the all-in button. It shows you exactly what you're going to pay at checkout. And you can go get that right there. And so you won't be surprised by fees and all things like that. You can see exactly what the view from your seat. Check it out at Game Time and see exactly where you're going to go. There's all kinds of different things. Just go check out Game Time, see what's available, and see what kind of things you can do this summer. Because, hey, we got to go inside and go do something fun because this is the summer and this is what it's for. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets for MLB, concerts, theater, all that kind of stuff with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use that code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem that code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. It's the one more thing. It's the bonus episode of Locked On Mavs. And no, I have not replaced the intro music. Everybody asks. Every time I do a one more thing, somebody in the YouTube comments is like, oh my God, did he replace the Let It Ride music? No, not yet. Not yet. So thanks for hanging out with us. We're talking about Klay Thompson. I think it's a smokescreen. I think that it is silly season. I think that it's leverage play. I think that both sides needed leverage for a certain reason. And so this rumor comes out. Both sides are interested and all that kind of stuff. I think it's a leverage play. But if it's not, I'm also kind of like, all right, you've got to make sure to keep exactly what this team is. So this is what Klay Thompson would bring. Klay Thompson, 34 years old, going to be 35 in February. He'll be back for like two and a half years removed from returning from Achilles injury. And so you know how they talk about, well, the second year after being removed from an Achilles injury is usually better. That was this past year. I don't know that we saw that. I don't know that we saw like a much better Klay Thompson than the year before. About 18 points a game, 39% on threes. He can absolutely shoot. He can still absolutely shoot. He'll probably be able to shoot forever. 39% on 9 threes a game in the offense that the Warriors are running. Like, these are not all wide open threes for him. I mean, still a sniper. Incredibly good on the free throw line. He led the league in free throw percentage last year, 93%. Incredible for Klay Thompson. So, incredible shooter. He would absolutely come in and, like, help the Mavericks in that area. Like, all the crazy passes that Luka makes, and then he kicks it over to somebody in the corner, and you're like, oh my God, please just finish the clip. Finish the clip for Luka, please. And then they don't go down. Imagine those going to Klay Thompson, and imagine Kyrie Irving being the one on the other side. Like, okay, Luka has the ball. He's got Lively or Gafford as the rim roller. He's got PJ Washington in one corner. He's got Klay Thompson in the other, and he's got Kyrie like running around the top of the key, knocking down shots. Like, will Luka ever be double teamed again? Like, PJ Washington's going to get all the wide open threes and all the wide open shots ever because you can't leave Klay, you can't leave Curry, you can't leave Kyrie, and you can't leave Luka, obviously, and you can't leave Lively or Gafford at the rim. The shooting is still there. He's going to bring something that the Mavericks need, a veteran, a consummate professional type of guy that's won multiple championships. You know, him and Kyrie being the two veterans on this team would be great. 4 championships for Klay Thompson. He knows what it takes to build a winning culture. He can help a guy like Jaden Hardy, Omax, Derek Lively. He can help them learn what that's like. Hey, you guys lost the title? Hey, I've lost the title. I know how to bounce back. I know how to bounce back years after the fact and win in 2022 after we were completely out of it. So that's what he can bring. I asked my friends from Locked On Warriors, Kylan Mills. She gave me a great scouting report because she watched him all last year. Every single game. And so this is what she said about him. He can still space the floor, incredible 3-point threat, obviously. Shooting numbers are a little bit down, but a down year for Klay Thompson. Shooting the ball is 37% from 3, but that he shot 37% from 3. Oh no, in the playoffs. Sorry. Hold on. I'm sorry. 39%. I was right the first time. 39% is a down year for Klay Thompson, but he still was incredibly great. His shooting selection, I said, is his shooting selection questionable? Because that was one thing that I saw when I watched him a couple times last year, and she said, calling the shot selection questionable is a nice way to put it. I think this is one thing that would be really great actually for Klay Thompson himself, to come to an offense where it's like, all right, just knock down threes, man. Just do the thing that you do. Because in the Warriors offense, it's all about moving the ball and like getting a shot here or there and like creating advantages. And Klay was trying to do all these like pull-up jumpers and stuff. And you're like, hey man, that's not your game. Why are you forcing all these shots? And he didn't force a ton. I started looking around some of the volume shooters. He only took about 15 shots a game last year. It's not like he was 20 shots a game or something like that. He took 5 twos a game, 5.5 twos a game. But the twos that he did take were not very good. And he took a bunch of bad shots. And in the Mavericks offense, it's a much more refined role, much more defined. And I think that can help him at this point in his career. What the Mavericks want to do on offense is much better for what Klay Thompson can do in his career at this point on offense. It'd be great. She also said he forces it too much, selfish at times, rather than playing simple and making the extra pass or the open pass or taking a contested shot off the dribble or something like that. The Mavs would limit a lot of those things. Hey, you don't have to do that, Klay. Like, we don't need you to be that other creator. The Warriors didn't have that other guy. Like, all right, Wiggins isn't doing it. Curry's getting doubled. Now what do we do? All right, Klay, go cook. Mavs aren't going to do that to him. Attack off the dribble, attack a closeout? Sure, he's been doing that his whole career. But don't take a contested mid-range shot. Take the wide-open mid-range shot when you're attacking off a dribble and Luka's doubled over here and there's attention on Kyrie and the attention on the roller and all that. I think that would help. I think Klay in this offense would be awesome. I'm 100% in on that. Defense. Now, here's the thing. Klay used to be a great defender. Klay made an all-defensive team in 2019. He's been known as a great defender. He's still solid defensively, not a liability. So he's still not a liability defensively, which is helpful. Going to be 35 in February. How long does that last? He is not elite anymore because of the injuries, and he's lost some lateral quickness due to the injuries and age and all that. You're probably going to ask him to do a lot defensively. Hey, Klay, we got Luka and Kyrie. They're making your life so easy on offense. You got to bring it on the defensive end. Can he do that at this point? Questionable. Defense, and one of the things that the Mavs learned, I said this the other day with Reggie on the show. We were talking about lessons the Mavs needed to learn from the finals. And one of them is you got to stick with the dirty work wings. It worked for you in 2022. It worked for you in 2024. Both in the playoffs. You got to have the dirty work wings. The guys will do the extra stuff. The guys will do the come up and set a screen. The guys will come and get rebounds. The guys that will defend the best players and switch and like help Luka and Kyrie when they get into bad situations and all that kind of stuff. Can Klay Thompson do some of those things? I'm not sure that going to be 35 in February. And coming off of those bad injuries and all that, I'm not sure you're asking Klay Thompson to do that. Will the advantage they get on offense offset some of that? Probably. Yeah, probably some of that. But the Mavs they need more of an advantage. They need more offense, and this could help them. So, like, I'm really torn on this one. I don't really want to do it because of the money that it would cost. I think it would cost more than $20 million a year. And so then you're like, all right, he's not just going to take the taxpayer mid-level exception. But if he does, I mean, would you just straight up replace Derrick Jones Jr. with Klay Thompson? Is what you're losing defensively enough? Defensively and hustle plays and all that kind of stuff. Is what you're losing defensively and all that get offset enough by his three-point shooting? Honestly, probably. But I'm torn. I'm so torn. I don't think I want to do it because I think it'll cost more than the taxpayer mid-level exception. Which is like it's like almost $13 million the first year. He just made 43. And the other thing, one of the other things that was in Stein's report is he's seeking a 3-year deal at a minimum. He's going to turn 35. At the end of that deal, he's going to be 38. How many 38-year-olds we got in the league right now? Not many. Especially ones that have had terrible injuries like he's had. It's tough. That's tough. I'm concerned about that. To give him a 3-year deal, you can give him a 3-year deal on the taxpayer mid-level exception. Here are the 38-year-olds, by the way. PJ Tucker just picked up his option. I don't think the Clippers were very happy that he picked up his option. They expected it, but Taj Gibson barely plays. Chris Paul, who, the Warriors maybe wish that he's not going to pick up his option, but he will. LeBron James doesn't count. Jeff Green is 37. Al Horford's 37. Kyle Lowry's 37. Wes Matthews is 37, our old friend. Garrett Temple. That's it. Those are the 37-year-olds. So unless he's one of those guys at the end of his career, which he could be, that's a tough ask for a 3-year deal. So to me, I think it's a leverage play. I think that the Mavericks are trying to get leverage. Klay Thompson's trying to get leverage. They're both using each other on each side of it. But if not, you got to hope that what he brings on offense offsets what you're going to lose on defense. Because I don't think you can bring back Derrick Jones Jr. without giving up more assets to go get off of some contracts. Maxey and Josh. Can you trade Maxey and Josh and do a sign and trade for? Can you do that? Here's the thing. If you do a sign and trade for Klay Thompson, then you get hard capped. And then I don't think you have the exception anymore. A lot of question marks. It's a lot of order of operations things. That's why I haven't spent too much time digging into all this and all the machinations of it, because sometimes you think you have it all figured out and all of a sudden the Mavs are like, hey, guess what? We're actually going to do step B ahead of step A and C. Sign this guy, trade for this guy, do this guy. The Tim Hardaway Jr. trade hasn't been officially announced yet. That means it's not done. That means that they could open this trade up for a 3-team trade with the Warriors and then dump the contracts, jump more contracts to the Pistons and send them more assets like they did with the Grant Williams trade. Slightly and I were texting about this, and he was like, why don't they just do it the same way they did the Grant Williams trade? The Grant Williams trade, the Mavs dumped Reggie Bullock to the Spurs. So the Spurs took that contract and they got the pick swap. And then the Mavs got Grant Williams. And that's how it worked, because the Celtics couldn't take on contracts. They had to get rid of contracts. It's complicated. The order of operations matters. Depends on how they do it. But to me, it just comes down to the big picture. Seems like a leverage play, but if it's not, you got to hope that offensive bet really pays off. Really pays off. There you go. Guys, thanks for hanging out with me on Locked On Mavs. We'll be back tomorrow with more stuff. I may do something on Slovenia. I haven't decided yet. They just played an exhibition game. I've got it. I may go back and watch it, but we'll see. Guys, thanks so much for hanging out with me on Locked On Mavs. We'll be back throughout the offseason, breaking it all down every day here on Locked On Mavs. Appreciate each and every one of you checking out the show. Peace out.